On Monday, we commemorated the landing in the Americas of Christoper Columbus's first expedition in 1492. Over the course of his 4 voyages to the New World, Columbus showed some pretty keen meteorological instincts. Now, one of his greatest sailing innovations was using the Earth's global wind systems to his advantage. To cross the Atlantic from Spain, Columbus first headed south, and once he reached the fringes of the tropics, he then turned west and sailed with the trusty northeast trade winds that dominate those latitudes. For the return trip, he first went a bit north to catch the westerlies in the mid-latitudes. And for the next 3 centuries, this kind of circular route was a conveyor belt for travel between Spain and the Spanish regions of the Americas. Columbus lucked out on his first voyage. He didn't run into any tropical trouble, though he left Spain in the heart of hurricane season in August of 1492. He headed south to the Canary Islands and then turned west. His 3 ships were at sea for about a month before they sighted land on October 12th, a tiny island in the eastern Bahamas. They explored for a few months, including Cuba and Hispaniola, without major weather problems, giving Columbus an early misconception about the weather in these waters. They left for home in January 1493. The fleet first moved north to escape the trade winds, then sailed east. They ran into a couple nasty extratropical storms near the Azores, but still got back to Spain safely in March. On his second voyage a year later, Columbus was probably the first European to run into a true West Indies tropical cyclone. In September 1494, he and his men saw what they called a sea monster on the ocean surface, a sure sign of impending bad weather according to ancient mariners. In response, they took shelter behind a tiny island off the southeast tip of Hispaniola. Columbus's description suggests it was probably just a tropical storm, but it was good practice for his first encounter with a full-blown hurricane on his 4th voyage in 1502. And at that time, Columbus was again sailing the waters off Hispaniola near the port of Santo Domingo. He noticed fast-moving high clouds and increasing southeast swell, and quickly took his ships to a safe harbor. Columbus wrote, "The storm was terrible, and on that night the ships were parted from me. Each was certain, the others were lost." In the end, his 4 ships survived, but a fleet of 30 headed for Spain was nearly wiped out. Columbus also made a connection between Earth and atmosphere that was way before his time. In a biography of his father, Columbus's son Ferdinand recalled his father's observations of the island of Jamaica. Every afternoon there was a rain squall that lasted for about an hour. The admiral attributes this to the great forests of that land. In essence, Columbus was suggesting that tropical forests help make their own rain. And in fact, modern research done in the Amazon confirms that about half of the rain that falls there can be traced back to moisture that evaporated from the forest itself. An astute observation indeed by Columbus about 500 years ago. Fred's up next with the extended forecast.